Welcome to the English Masterclass. Today, we will talk about something that almost everyone struggles with. Have you ever studied hard only to forget everything the next day? Have you read a book and then realized you cannot recall the key points? You are not alone, and the good news is there is a way to fix this problem. Most people think that forgetting is a sign of weakness, but that is not true. Forgetting is natural because your brain is always cleaning and filtering information. The real secret is not about avoiding forgetting, but about learning how to make your memory stronger. If you understand how memory works, you can train your brain like a muscle. Think about it this way. When you lift weights at the gym, your muscles grow with practice and rest. The brain works in a very similar way. If you give your brain the right kind of exercise, the right rest, and the right habits, it will keep information for much longer. This video is about showing you how to do that step by step. The first step to remembering better is to know how memory actually works. Your brain has two main storage systems, short-term memory and long-term memory. Short-term memory is like a scratch pad. You write something there, but it gets erased quickly. Long-term memory is like a library. The things you store there stay for years, sometimes for life. The problem is that most people only use short-term memory. They study for an exam, cram information, and then forget it the next morning. To really learn, you need to move information from short-term to long-term memory. And for that, you need to use certain tricks, which we will explore one by one in this video. One of the most powerful tools for memory is attention. If you are not fully focused when you are learning, your brain will never save the information. Think about when you're scrolling your phone while someone is talking. You might hear words, but you cannot recall them later because you were not paying attention. Focus is the first key to memory. So how do you improve focus? Start with simple habits. When you are reading or studying, put away distractions. Keep your phone out of reach. Take a few deep breaths before you begin. Tell yourself, I am here to remember this. When your brain knows this is important, it begins to treat the information with respect. Now let us move to the first memory hack, visualization. Our brains are wired to remember pictures better than words. If I tell you the word apple, you may forget it. But if you imagine a shiny red apple in your hand smelling sweet, you will remember it longer. That's because images stay in the mind more strongly than abstract words. Whenever you are learning something new, try to turn it into a picture in your mind. For example, if you're learning the word freedom, imagine someone breaking free from chains. If you're studying history, imagine the actual scenes, like soldiers marching or leaders speaking. The stronger the image, the longer it will stay in your memory. The second memory hack is repetition and spacing. Have you noticed that when you hear a song many times, it sticks in your head? The same thing happens with learning. But repetition works best when it is spaced out, not crammed all at once. If you study a word today, review it tomorrow, then again after 3 days, then after a week, it will become permanent. This method is called spaced repetition, and it is proven by science. Your brain forgets things in a curve, but if you remind yourself at the right intervals, the curve becomes flatter. Slowly, the knowledge moves into your long-term memory. That is why it's better to study a little every day than to do all your learning in one night. The third memory hack is teaching others. You might think teaching is only for teachers, but in reality, teaching is the best way to learn. When you explain something in your own words, your brain processes it deeply. This is called active recall. You are not just reading, you are producing. That effort makes the memory stronger. You can try this even without a real student. Pretend you are teaching a friend. Speak the ideas out loud. Write them down as if you were explaining. The moment you can teach something clearly, it means you really understand it. And once you understand deeply, you will never forget it. Let me give you a story to make this clear. Imagine two students, Sarah and John. Sarah studies quietly, reads notes again and again, and hopes to remember. John studies the same notes, but then explains them to a friend. A week later, John remembers most of the material, while Sarah forgets a lot. Why? Because John made his brain work harder by teaching. So far, we have covered 3 powerful methods: visualization, spaced repetition, and teaching. These already make a big difference in how much you can remember. But now we will go even deeper. Memory has more tricks that can help you store information for years. The good news is these methods are fun and easy to practice. The next method is association. Your brain remembers new things better when they are connected to something you already know. If you meet someone named Rose, you might picture a flower in your mind. That link helps you recall the name later. The brain loves connections. The stronger and stranger the connection, the better the memory. You can use association in almost any subject. If you're learning a new English word like serene, which means calm, you can link it with the image of a quiet lake. If you're studying history, you can connect dates with personal events. Maybe 1947 is also the year your grandfather was born, so you link the two. Association turns facts into stories. Another great method is chunking. Your brain struggles with long, random pieces of information, but it's very good at remembering groups. For example, think of your phone number. You don't remember each digit one by one. Instead, you break it into chunks like 123, 456, 789. That's how memory works naturally. When you study, try to group information into chunks. If you're learning 10 new words, break them into 2 or 3 groups by theme. If you're memorizing a long speech, divide it into sections. Your brain will hold on to each group more easily, and then later it will join them together into one whole picture. One of the most famous memory methods is the memory palace. This technique has been used for thousands of years, even by ancient Greek speakers. The idea is simple. You imagine a place you know well, like your home. Then you place the information you want to remember inside that place in different rooms. Later, when you walk through that place in your mind, you find the information again. Let's say you want to remember a shopping list: milk, bread, eggs, and apples. In your mind, you picture milk spilled at the door, bread on the sofa, eggs on the kitchen counter, and apples rolling on the stairs. Because the images are strange and linked to a place you know, you can recall the list easily. This works for bigger ideas too. You might think this sounds like magic, but it really works. The reason is because our brains are designed to remember places and pictures more than numbers or words. By linking knowledge to a location, you make it stick. Many memory champions use the memory palace to recall hundreds of items or even entire books. You can do it too with practice. Another key to memory is note-taking. Writing down what you learn is not just about keeping records. When you write, your brain processes the idea again, and that makes it stronger. But not all note-taking is equal. Copying word for word doesn't help much. Instead, write in your own words, summarize, use short points, draw small pictures. The more you engage with the material, your brain treats it as important, and you remember more. Now let's talk about stories. Human brains are natural story machines. That's why we can remember fairy tales from childhood, but forget yesterday's math formulas. If you can turn what you learn into a story, it will stay in your mind. A story has characters, actions, and emotions. These are the things the brain never forgets. For example, if you want to remember the planets in order, you can turn them into a funny story. Mercury is a quick messenger. Venus is a goddess. Earth is your home. Mars is a red warrior. Jupiter is a giant, and so on. By giving them roles in a story, you make a boring list into an exciting adventure. Another factor that affects memory is your emotions. We tend to remember things that make us feel strongly. Think about where you were when something big happened in your life. You remember the details clearly. That's because emotions lock in memories. So when you learn, try to add emotion. Be curious, be surprised, laugh at the connections you make. Memory also improves when you use your senses. Instead of just reading words, try to hear, see, and even say them. If you're learning English, say the words out loud. Record yourself. Listen again. If you're learning facts, draw them as simple sketches. The more senses you involve, the stronger the memory becomes. Your health and lifestyle play a big role too. A tired brain forgets quickly. Sleep is one of the most powerful tools for memory. When you sleep, your brain organizes information and stores it into long-term memory.
That is why pulling an all-nighter before exams does not work. Sleep well and your brain will do half the job for you. Exercise is another hidden tool. When you move your body, you increase blood flow to the brain. This makes your memory sharper. Even a short walk before studying can make a big difference. Food also matters. Omega-3 from fish, nuts, and leafy greens all support brain function. Your memory is not only about study methods, but also about how you take care of yourself. We should also talk about practice and patience. Memory is not built in one day. Just like muscles, it grows slowly. If you expect instant results, you may give up too soon. But if you keep practicing a little every day, you will be amazed at the power of your brain after weeks and months. Consistency beats intensity every time. So far, you have learned about associations, chunking, memory palaces, moats, stories, senses, emotions, and health. These tools are powerful when used together. The more of them you combine, the stronger your memory will become. It is not about talent, it is about technique and practice. In the next part, we will explore how some of the world's greatest learners and thinkers used these tools. You will hear stories of people who trained their memory to do incredible things. And most importantly, you will see how to apply all these methods in your daily life, step by step. Get ready because this will inspire you to take action.
We have talked about memory methods and why they work. But now, let us bring these ideas to life with real stories. Stories inspire us because they show that memory is not magic, but practice. When you hear how others built strong memories, you will believe that you can do it too. One famous example is the Greek poet Simonides. Thousands of years ago, he was invited to a banquet. During the meal, the building collapsed and many people were trapped. Later, Simonides was asked to identify the victims. He closed his eyes and remembered exactly where each guest was sitting. This was the birth of the memory palace technique. Another story comes from modern times. Many people think memory champions are born with special gifts, but they are not. They simply train with the right methods. For example, Dominic O'Brien, an 8-time world memory champion, once memorized 54 decks of cards in order. He did not use magic, he used association, visualization, and the memory palace. Think about that for a moment. 54 decks of cards means 2,808 cards, all remembered in the correct order. This shows that the human brain is capable of much more than we imagine. If Dominic could train his mind to do this, we can certainly train our minds to remember the things that matter in daily life. Another inspiring figure is Nikola Tesla, the inventor. He was famous for his photographic memory. Tesla could design machines entirely in his mind, test them there, and then build them without even making a sketch. His imagination was his laboratory. How did he do this? He trained his brain with deep focus, visualization, and practice.
You might say, but I am not a champion or a genius. That does not matter. What these examples show is that the brain is flexible. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, which means your brain can grow and change no matter your age. Memory is not fixed at birth. You can always improve it with the right habits. Let us talk about how to apply these ideas to your daily life. Imagine you are a student who has to prepare for exams. Instead of reading the textbook again and again, you can use the tools we learned. Make images for key ideas, review with spaced repetition, teach the material to a classmate. Suddenly, studying becomes more effective and less stressful. Or maybe you are learning English. You don't just memorize lists of words. Instead, you imagine pictures for each word. You repeat them at spaced times. You use them in a conversation with a friend, like teaching. This makes the words stay in your mind much longer. You stop forgetting and start speaking with confidence. If you are a professional, memory can also make you stand out. Imagine giving a presentation without notes because you have everything in your head, or meeting new people and remembering their names instantly. These small skills can create a big impression, and they are all possible if you use memory techniques. Now, let us focus on daily habits that keep your memory sharp. First is reading. Reading trains the brain like running trains the body. Each book gives you new ideas, new words, and new connections. If you read daily, even for 20 minutes, you're giving your brain regular exercise. Reading also improves focus, which we know is key for memory. Second is journaling. Writing down what you learn each day helps lock it in your mind. You can keep a small notebook and write the 3 most important things you learned. This simple act makes your brain recall the lessons and strengthens the memory. After a month, you will have a notebook full of knowledge that is yours forever. Third is reflection. At the end of each day, spend 5 minutes asking yourself, what did I learn today? What do I want to remember? This short mental review tells your brain that the information is important. It's like pressing the save button on a computer. Without reflection, the brain may erase what it thinks is unimportant. Fourth is curiosity. When you are curious, your brain pays more attention. Remember, attention is the first key to memory. If you see learning as boring, your brain will not hold on to it. But if you approach each lesson with curiosity, you will naturally remember more. Train yourself to ask questions and dig deeper into the things you learn. Finally, take care of your brain with rest and play. Your brain is not a machine that can work nonstop. If you push it too hard, it will resist. Short breaks, walks, or fun activities refresh the brain. Sleep, as we said before, is the most powerful memory booster. A rested brain is always sharper than a tired one. All these habits may sound simple, but together they create a powerful system. Memory does not grow from one single trick. It grows from the combination of techniques and lifestyle choices. Visualization, repetition, teaching, association, stories, reading, journaling, reflection, curiosity, rest, all of them work together to make you remember more. The best way to see progress is to start small. Pick one technique, like spaced repetition, and practice it for a week. Then add another, like visualization. Step by step, you will notice that your memory gets stronger. The important thing is not to try everything at once, but to build slowly, like stacking bricks to make a strong wall.
So now you know that memory is not a gift, it is a skill. With focus, practice, and the right methods, you can remember almost anything you learn. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your brain grow stronger every day. Your memory is your power. Use it, and it will change your life. If you found this helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the English Masterclass. More simple and powerful lessons are coming your way, so stay with me and let's grow together.